If you're considering buying a bike from a big-name brand this year, you might want to reconsider. Some of the most iconic names in motorcycling are quietly collapsing. Sales are plummeting, parts are disappearing, and resale values are free-falling. Riders are getting burned, and the excuses from manufacturers are running out. And the worst part? We're not even at rock bottom yet. The final brand on this list isn't just struggling, it's barely surviving, dragging a century-old legacy down with it. Let's dive into the first brand, Harley-Davidson. Once the embodiment of America on two wheels, Harley-Davidson built its reputation on more than just motorcycles. It sold an identity, the soul of rebellion, and the American dream. But in 2025, that identity is cracking under its own weight. There was a time when owning a Harley was about more than just a bike. It was about freedom, attitude, and brotherhood. You weren't just another rider, you were part of a legacy. Today, the models that once welcomed new riders are now starting at over $13,000. By the time you factor in dealer markups, freight charges, and upgrades, that price balloons to $17,000 or more, far from the working-class roots the brand once championed. And it doesn't stop there. Harley's flagship touring bikes, like the Road Glide and Ultra Limited, regularly cross the $40,000 threshold. In an era where value matters more than ever, Harley's pricing feels like betrayal. Then, there's the tech or lack thereof. While competitors embrace liquid-cooled engines, ride modes, digital displays, and cutting-edge safety systems, Harley continues to push an outdated air-cooled Milwaukee 8 engine. It's an engine that hasn't evolved in years, paired with outdated gauges and a rumble that sounds nostalgic until you realize how far behind the ride feels. The cracks run deeper than just the bike specs. Harley's once strong image is crumbling, especially among younger riders who aren't interested in buying into a uniform identity. They want versatility, innovation, and freedom without the heavy brand baggage. Harley's competitors, such as Yamaha and Indian, now offer bikes with better tech and handling, while even the used market is cutting deep. A 2015 Road Glide with fewer than 20,000 miles is going for $15,000, and it offers nearly the same experience as today's model. Harley tried to reinvent itself with the Live Wire, an all-electric motorcycle. But at nearly $30,000 with a range under 150 miles, sales flopped, and the Live Wire was spun off into its own brand. The Revolution Max engine in the Pan America and Sportster S proved Harley could innovate. But instead of overhauling the lineup, these models remain isolated, surrounded by an aging fleet stuck in the past. The real issue? Time. The brand's legacy has become a trap, too iconic to abandon, too outdated to evolve. What once felt like rebellion now feels like ritual. Harley-Davidson isn't collapsing because it tried to change. It's collapsing because it tried to stay the same. 5. Indian motorcycles. Indian was once the comeback story of the decade, resurrected from the ashes and refined with the backing of Polaris Industries. Indian was on a roll, producing bold, muscular bikes that could go head-to-head with Harley-Davidson. For a while, it wasn't just a competitor, it was a reckoning. But in 2023, Indian made a fateful decision that started its unraveling. The brand quietly retired its iconic multicolor Native American headdress logo, replacing it with a monochrome version. The move was framed as one for cultural sensitivity, but to many loyal riders, it felt like a betrayal. That logo wasn't just aesthetic, it was part of Indian's soul, a symbol of its heritage and connection to the past. When it disappeared, so did the emotional connection for many riders. The backlash was swift. Forums lit up, social media exploded. But the real issue wasn't just the logo, it was what it represented. Indian was walking a thin line between authenticity and reinvention, and once that line cracked, everything else started to fall apart. The timing was disastrous, as Indian had been gaining traction with younger riders, thanks to stripped-down models like the Scout Bobber and FTR, which spoke to a new generation. But now, Indian's identity is uncertain. The brand is at a crossroads, and it's running out of time to figure out which direction to take. 4. KTM. Once synonymous with European off-road supremacy, KTM is now in a dire situation. In November 2024, the parent company behind KTM Pure Mobility, AG filed for self-administration, a move that's essentially a last-ditch effort to avoid bankruptcy. The stock plummeted, and KTM's global ambitions started to unravel. The company had overextended itself, ramping up production to over 1,000 motorcycles per day, betting on growth in emerging markets. When the demand didn't materialize, KTM was left with warehouses full of unsold bikes. To stop the bleeding, KTM had to freeze production and lay off over 300 employees. Their expansion plans turned into a nightmare. KTM's ambition was bold, but its execution was reckless. It banked on entry-level bikes with razor-thin margins, hoping to make up the difference through volume. But as inflation and tighter consumer spending hit, the cracks began to show. KTM lost its partnership with Bajaj, the Indian manufacturing giant that had once helped them streamline production. Now, KTM's fighting an uphill battle to stay afloat. 3. Norton. Once a crown jewel of British motorcycling, Norton's story is one of betrayal. After being purchased by Stuart Garner in 2008, Norton promised a return to glory, only to implode under scandal and mismanagement. Orders were taken without bikes being built, customers were left holding worthless invoices, and the brand's reputation was tarnished beyond repair. By 2020, Norton collapsed, but then TVS Motor Company, an Indian manufacturing giant, bought Norton for $20 million, hoping to revive the brand. But despite the money and effort, Norton's recovery has been slow. Promised models have been delayed, and the loyalists who had placed deposits still haven't seen their bikes or their refunds. 2. Mitsubishi. Mitsubishi, once a formidable player in the motorcycle industry, is now a forgotten name. In the 1950S and 60S, Mitsubishi's motorcycles competed with the best, but by the 1980S, the company quietly pulled out of the motorcycle market, focusing entirely on automobiles. Over time, Mitsubishi's motorcycle legacy faded into obscurity. Recently, there have been rumors of a comeback with electric bikes, but nothing concrete has materialized, and Mitsubishi remains a ghost in the motorcycle world. 1. Moto Guzzi. Moto Guzzi, founded in 1921, is one of the oldest motorcycle brands in the world. Known for its craftsmanship, elegance, and unique engine designs, Guzzi's bikes were once mechanical poetry on wheels. But in 2025, Moto Guzzi is in trouble not because it lacks history, but because it can't escape it. The brand produces fewer than 10,000 motorcycles a year, and its global footprint is shrinking. Moto Guzzi's reliance on outdated technology and its slow approach to modernization has left it struggling to keep up with the competition. The new V100 Mandalo is a step forward, but it's one bike, and it's not enough to reverse decades of decline. Moto Guzzi's factory is iconic but expensive.